Hey everybody, it's Gamer Gramps here. Today we're going to be doing a preview of Old World, and I'm going to give you my first impressions of the game to hopefully help you decide one way or the other if this game is for you. So if that sounds like it's interesting to you, then definitely stick around. If you want to get good at Old World, then subscribe and click the bell to keep up with this channel. Alright, so first things first, I obviously want full transparency here that I did receive a key to Old World for free from Mohawk Games, so a big thank you to them, but I also want to put that out there for anybody watching this video as well. However, I actually pre-purchased this game myself before receiving that key, so I definitely was interested beforehand. Quick note here before we get rolling, there will be timestamps pinned at the top of the comment section, so you can jump through the video to different sections if you don't want to sit through the whole thing. Anyway, let's dive into things. So I think the first and most important thing we need to talk about is whether or not this game is a clone of Civilization, or is Civilization Light, or however you want to spin it. The short answer, fuck no, not even close. I will explain further, but I just think it's important to hammer this home in the beginning here because I think there's two different parties who need to hear this loud and clear. On one hand, there seems to be one camp of people who are already saying this game is shit and they don't want to play it because it's just a rip-off of Civilization. And then on the other side of the same coin, you have a bunch of people who are only interested in this game because they think it's going to be like Civilization. So again, to be clear, this game is not like Civilization. Yes, it's a 4X game. Yes, it's made by the same people who created Civ 3 and 4. Yes, it has a similar art style to Civ 5 and is less cartoony and unrealistic thematically than, say, for instance, Civilization 6 looks like. But that's basically where the similarities end though. Other than, wait, there's one more. There are ancient runes in this game which are basically the equivalent to a Civilization goodie hut. However, they have a unique spin on it in Old World which allows you to always have choices as to what the rewards you receive are, which then obviously have their own consequences one way or the other depending on what selection you decide to make. First and foremost, in my opinion, is the fact that your nation doesn't evolve and grow into the future. The game is called Old World for a reason. While they do have a very extensive and deep tech tree in the game, you never evolve past the very early medieval stages as far as technologies are concerned. This game has a heavy focus on your characters' family lines, and the relationships that come with it. Each turn of the game actually only takes 1 year, which is another huge contrast to Civilization. I would say that to me, by far, the biggest contrast between Old World and the Civilization franchise is just how many choices you have in this game, and how it seems that every single little choice you make has consequences and lead to further situations that only continue to snowball as you continue to play through the game. I'll get into this in more detail later in the video though. The bottom line is, take my word for it, I've played thousands of hours in Civilization and this game is not a clone or even fucking close to being a ripoff of the game, and that's a good thing. If you do watch this video through, I think you'll agree with me and want to give the game a chance. Bear in mind that when I'm writing this, I've only had access to the development copy of the game, and Old World is still 4 days away from even launching into early access. So this game is coming into early access on May 5th, 2020, to be very clear. I guess that's a good segue into where you can actually buy it and how much it costs. So as of now, it's an Epic exclusive and you can head there if you're interested in getting your hands on it. Again, as of the filming of this video, the price was $39.99, but I'm not sure how long that price points will be available, so you might want to get on it now if this game does look good to you. Anyway, as far as what civilizations are included, as of the recording of this, you have the option to play the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, the Persians, or the Carthaginians. Each choice has its own strengths and weaknesses, and obviously those bonuses are going to help shape the type of game you're going to play. Again, since this is just a development copy of the game, I'm not going to bother covering what those bonuses are, as I'm sure they'll be tweaked and modified as time goes on. Hey everybody, Gamer Gramps here. I'm quickly interrupting just to say that if you're enjoying the video, please do me a favor and leave a like on it if you haven't already. It does really go a long way towards helping the channel get discovered, and clearly, you know it by now, I'm special. I need all the help I can get, right? For those of you who do play Civilization, there's a very interesting and much more complex resource system in Old World compared to the Civilization franchise. I, for one, am fucking loving getting to know how it works better at the moment. You have gold, food, iron, wood, and stone as far as natural resources to manage. And there's also a trading economy that has prices which fluctuate due to supply and demand throughout the known world as you explore and meet more civilizations. On top of all of those resources, then there's also science, which obviously helps propel you down the tech tree, and then there's also civics, which allow you to choose and pass different laws that will have big impacts and consequences, both good and bad, depending on which you decide to enact. But wait, there's still more. So my personal favorite new feature of this game is a resource you have to manage that is called orders. Each turn, you have a very limited amount of orders that you can carry out which allow your units to actually move and perform their various functions, whether that's attacking with your military units or improving tiles and stuff with your builders. As you progress through the game, there is different ways to gain more orders obviously, but you do have to micromanage and prioritize which things you want to get done and which will have to wait until next turn, especially on the higher difficulties in the game. This is so much fun. I really hope that upcoming 4X games will jump all over this feature and we'll see it become commonplace in the genre. Aside from orders, you also have to manage the training resource. You can use this in several different ways, from promoting your troops to giving them combat bonuses. By the way, there are a shitload of different promotions to give, all the way to spending your training resource to force your units to move by essentially purchasing extra orders with your training points. The complexity of the various resources and the mechanics involved with managing them all efficiently has me extremely excited to play more of this, as I'm a very anal player and I love to min-max in Civilization to win as efficiently as possible. So as I already mentioned, you don't progress into the future in this game like you do in Civilization, hence the aptly chosen game name, Old World. This doesn't mean that they don't have a deep or interesting tech tree though. There are loads of different choices you'll have to make and prioritize which direction and path you want to take, which will obviously have a very significant ramification on how your game ends up going and what kind of style civilization you're going to be playing with. As far as units go, they start out pretty basic with warriors, scouts, and stone slingers, progressing all the way up to archers, longbowmen, horsemen, ballistas, various ships, and more units along those lines. You can also have various characters become generals and take command of units, which then gives them bonuses on top of the promotions that you choose as well. As I mentioned earlier, there is actually a currency called civics, and you spend civics for various things, but most importantly, they're used to pass laws, which will govern your civilization and have huge, far-reaching impacts throughout your game depending on the choices you make. Some early choices are, say, slavery, a great friendly topic, which gives you 5 extra orders per turn, but also causes discontent among your empire. Later in the game, you can pass a law which allows you to save up to 100 orders and stockpile them essentially, which is very useful for late game wars. Every law you choose will have both positive and negative impacts on various aspects of gameplay, so you have some real tough choices to make, which I find very appealing. This game primarily focuses around events that occur which give you various choices which then come with consequences both good and bad. Every choice you make ultimately sets things into motion that you have no idea about at first. These choices can be small and silly, like deciding to keep a pet monk, which you later can attempt to have trained as an assassin to knock off an ungrateful heir to your throne. Depending on, again, more choices you make, said monkey can end up causing negative effects to your character. So it can go from something as silly and seemingly inconsequential as that to something more serious and immediate. For instance, when I was hosting a gathering with the Queen of Egypt and her daughter basically called her a shitty leader, and I had to decide whether I sided with the current queen and basically chided her daughter, or if I supported her daughter's claim that she was a bad ruler. Each would obviously have very significant and very different consequences. I decided to weigh my options, and I ultimately went with the daughter, since the queen was 46 at the time, so she most likely wouldn't be in power for much longer, and her daughter, the heir apparent, was only in her 20s. I took the immediate diplomatic hit with the current ruler so that I could gain favor with the up-and-coming heir, which would then, most likely at least, God willing, be in power for much longer. You can get married, have children, choose how those children are raised, choose what kind of education to give them, which helps shapes their personalities and their traits. You can have affairs, have illegitimate children, get divorced, all sorts of things. And all these different possibilities and choices come with its own set of consequences, which can be both good and bad. I personally really enjoy this focus on choices and how it really feels like every single decision I'm faced with actually matters, and in some shape or form, even though it can just obviously be a small impact. Every decision at least has some impact on my gameplay experience. So I always do what I can to avoid telling people how to spend their hard-earned money. I personally am enjoying my time with the game, and had I not been given free access to this game from Mohawk Games, again, thank you. Based on my limited experiences with the game so far, I would have been happy on May 5th when I got to play the game in its early access launch on the Epic Game Store like everybody else. Whether or not you feel the same and buy the game, I'll leave up to you. I hope that my video has at least helped you to make an educated decision whichever way you're leaning, whether buying the game or not. I've only had access to this development build for a couple of days now, so I don't have a whole shitload of time in. I'm sure most of you watching this know who Potato is, but for the odd one who doesn't, that's Potato McWhiskey. He's a YouTuber who focuses exclusively mainly on Civilization content. Anyway, he was actually a beta tester for this game and has over 60 hours of gameplay logged in already, so he's much more experienced at it than I am. I'll put a link in the top right hand corner of the screen right now where you can go watch a live stream he did where he started a playthrough. It's very informative and I actually learned a lot from it when I was first getting my hands onto the game and jumping in, because like I said, it really isn't like Civilization. There's a lot to pick up, and like, don't get me wrong, the tutorial system is good, but tutorials only go so far, and so Potato was actually really good with helping me learn more of the advanced things and he helped me understand them a lot quicker than had I just been fumbling around lost in the dark myself. Mohawk Games is a smaller company, so please do me a favor and share this video with people you know, whether it's in a direct message with a few friends you think might find this type of game appealing, or into a Facebook group or a subreddit where you think people might be interested. It really does make a difference to how hard YouTube will push this video out to new audiences. With that being said though, this is the end of the video, so I do want to thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please do me a favor and leave a like on the video. It really does help a smaller channel like me grow and get discovered. And if you're new here, you probably don't know this, but I'm very, very special and I need all the help I can get. But I've rambled long enough for this video anyway, so I'm just gonna shut up and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.